About a decade ago, there was a huge surge in popularity for a specific type of screen that many will remember: curved screens. They promised greater visual immersion, less distortion, and a deeper sense of image depth, all thanks to a simple curvature in the display. In theory, they were designed to mimic the curvature of the human eye and how we naturally perceive the real world. However, today these TVs have almost completely disappeared. Interestingly, for over 100 years, older CRT TVs also had a curvature, but in the opposite direction, and unlike modern curved screens, they were a massive success. So why was one type of curvature successful while the other failed? Well, stick around and I'll tell you all about it. In 2013, both Samsung and LG introduced a distinctive type of monitor: a concave curved screen, meaning the edges were closer to the user than the center of the screen. According to manufacturers, this design promised several benefits. The primary selling point was that it would offer a more immersive image compared to a completely flat screen. But what principles were behind this? The curvature was designed to wrap around the viewer's field of vision, creating a sense of depth. By curving the screen inward, the goal was to simulate a more natural and immersive viewing experience, as if the content were surrounding you. Manufacturers argued that a curved display improved viewing angles, particularly on larger screens. This was because on a flat monitor, the edges of the screen were farther from the eyes than the center, potentially affecting clarity and making the edges appear blurry. A curved monitor, however, aligned the edges more closely with the viewer's visual field, theoretically reducing distortion, especially at the edges. Additionally, though this was more controversial, some manufacturers claimed that the curvature of the screen mimicked the natural curvature of the human eye, improving visual perception. In theory, curved screens could enhance image perception, making it feel more natural and less forced. However, in reality, most of these promised benefits were barely noticeable, or not perceptible at all. It was extremely difficult to distinguish between a flat screen and a curved one. But why? The concave curvature only had noticeable effects when sitting directly in front of the screen, very close and in a perfectly centered position. If you moved slightly or viewed it from an off-center angle, the curvature lost its effectiveness and could even distort the image. The curvature was only beneficial on very large screens, over 60 inches. On smaller screens, the effect was practically non-existent. So, in a way, curved monitors did deliver on their promises, but only under very specific conditions. You needed a 60-inch screen, had to sit very close, be centered, and remain still to perceive any difference. Yet even under these conditions, the immersive effect was debatable. Most people reported no noticeable improvement, while others found the distortion more distracting than on a flat screen. On top of that, they weren't cheap. This combination of a high price and underwhelming benefits led to a decline in popularity. Today, they are barely manufactured, though Samsung, one of the leading companies in monitor and TV production, still sells them. But there's a catch. You've probably heard of 4:3 or 16:9 when talking about screen resolutions or monitors. These numbers refer to the aspect ratio of the display. But how does aspect ratio work? The number on the left, 4 in 4:3, indicates the width units, while the number on the right, 3 in 4:3, indicates the height units. For example, if a screen is 40 inches wide, its height in a 4:3 ratio would be 30 inches. If it were 20 inches wide, the height would be 15 inches. This proportionality remains constant regardless of the monitor size. A 100-inch widescreen would have a height of 75 inches and would always appear roughly square. The most commonly used aspect ratio today is 16:9, meaning that for every 16 units of width, there are 9 units of height. If you're watching this video without black bars at the top or sides, your screen is likely 16:9. But what does aspect ratio have to do with curved monitors? In typical aspect ratios, the effect of curvature was almost negligible. But what if we changed the aspect ratio? As we saw earlier, the left number determines screen width. If we make a screen 1 meter wide and maintain the same aspect ratio, the height would increase significantly. But if we change the aspect ratio, for example, to 32:9 instead of 16:9, we get an ultra-wide monitor. Ultra-wide monitors are where curved screens still play an important role. You've probably seen streamers or office workers using 2 screens simultaneously to view multiple windows at once. What's interesting is that they're essentially using 2 16:9 monitors side by side, slightly angled toward themselves, essentially replicating a single ultra-wide curved monitor. This is where curved monitors have found their niche and seem to be staying. Some of the most well-known models include Samsung's Odyssey series, with a 32:9 aspect ratio, widely used by data analysts, streamers, and video editors who benefit from a wider display, or the ability to work with 2 open windows simultaneously. Another interesting point I discovered while researching this video is that CRT monitors also had a curvature, but in the opposite direction. So why was their curvature more successful? CRT monitors had a convex curvature, meaning the screen curved outward, unlike modern curved monitors. This curvature had several practical and technological reasons that contributed to their success for over a century. CRT screens were made of thick glass, making them extremely heavy. The outward curvature helped distribute internal pressure better, reducing the risk of breakage. Additionally, the cathode ray tube technology inside these monitors functioned better with curved screens. The electron beam that projected images by scanning from side to side could have created distortions at the edges if the screen were completely flat. The curvature helped align scan lines more effectively, improving sharpness and contrast, especially on larger screens. Over time, CRT monitors evolved to have flatter screens, but the tube inside remained curved due to its fundamental design. So, did you ever own a curved monitor? Either an old CRT or a modern one? Thanks so much for watching this video. Thanks for subscribing to this channel. I read all the comments, so leave one below and you might appear in the next video. Bye bye!